Welcome to Main Street Mavericks Radio, bringing you insights and strategies of exceptional Main Street businesses serving friends and neighbors in their communities as educators and advocates for their customers. Here's your host, marketing and lead generation strategist and best-selling author, Donna Gunter.
Welcome to another episode of Main Street Mavericks Radio. I'm your host, Donna Gunter. This episode is sponsored by Bismarck Media, a company that helps you attract ideal clients on autopilot as a standout expert in your industry. Today we have with us Beth Christo, Tampa area luxury property realtor. Beth is a realtor with RE/MAX Realty Unlimited, has been in real estate in the Tampa, Florida area since 1999, and has a diverse background including assisting real estate investors, facilitating residential sales, and counseling homeowners dealing with foreclosure and short sales. She has experience in luxury homes as well as helping first-time home buyers. Beth has been an agent as well as a manager and has co-hosted a weekly real estate radio show, The Property Wizard, in 2007. She has the market knowledge and experience to provide the information and services Tampa area residents need to make their next real estate transaction a great experience. Welcome to the show, Beth.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you about luxury real estate. It's not exactly something I can afford quite yet, but I like to dream big.
We all do.
Well, tell us about RE/MAX Realty Unlimited and how you help your clients.
Well, RE/MAX is a very well-known name. Most people from all over the country and actually all over the globe know the name RE/MAX. I've been in real estate for going on 19 years now, and I feel like it's a very good company with great base and good services. I love the Tampa Bay area. I've lived here since, I guess it's been about 22 years now, so I definitely know the neighborhood. And I enjoy what I do.
Well, let's talk about those luxury home buyers. What are some of the advantages of helping luxury home buyers define what they want or they need and helping them get the best value for their buck?
Well, a lot of times the luxury home buyers, they know what they want, but a lot of times they don't have the time to do all the footwork. They're moving into the area, and they are still focused on running their business or doing their job. And so they want someone to really gather information for them, provide them with all the facts and all their options, and then they can make their final decision. So that's what I do.
Well, talk about some of the information that you gather for them. And I'm going to ask you to answer a question before that. Define luxury real estate for the Tampa, Florida area. What are we talking about in terms of price range?
Well, typically you're talking, in this area, a waterfront property or a golf course front property, and that would range anywhere from, say, $400,000 up to over $1 million. If they want to be on the water, minimum would probably be in the $350,000 range and up.
Well, that's interesting to know that you could actually get waterfront in Florida for $350,000. I thought you would probably be looking at a significantly higher price.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that, but there are still some really great deals left. There's ways to get on the water for, under $600,000 and $700,000. I mean, there certainly are those homes here, and they're very nice, but you can get waterfront homes for less than that.
Oh, that's great to hear. Let's go back to what you had mentioned earlier in terms of the kind of information you might gather for a property buyer. Talk a little bit about what kinds of info they typically need.
Well, certainly financing options, it would be the first step, because while they have money, they want to make the best use of that money. So I put them with the right mortgage people to find that information out before we ever get started, so they know what they're dealing with. And then it's not so much as how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms. While that's important, lifestyle is even more important to them normally. Are they boaters, and are they interested in sailboat water or motorboat water? Because there is a difference. And
right.
What are they going to be doing? What are they going to be doing with their free time? Are they big boaters? Do they want to go fishing? Do they want to be near golf courses? What is it that they're really after with their home?
And so you help them put the lifestyle information together in terms of what they want to do. When does
right.
It come down to, I really have to have a garage or square footage, or it has to have a pool? Is that in the information gathering stage as well?
Oh, absolutely. That's the basic information that we would get on our first meeting. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how many garage, how big of a garage do you need? Do you want a pool? Where do you work? How far of a commute are you willing to do? Things like that are the basic, but I'm finding with the luxury buyers, more important than that, or at least as important, is what kind of lifestyle are you looking for? There are particular neighborhoods where, everybody knows everybody, and they have, a cocktail hour at one of the neighbors' houses every night. That's important to know if that's what they want, or if they just want to be, kind of incognito. That's important to know as well.
Right.
Really, what is it that they want as far as the lifestyle in the community? What are they looking for as far as that goes? Is a very important factor. And I can find all those answers for them while they're, doing their homework, getting their loan ready, or just going to work. And that cuts the search time down significantly, because they don't want to make a mistake and buy a house if they're coming into the area and be disappointed. So.
And it all, of course, with your the amount of experience you have, as well as your time in the area, it sounds like you're very well suited to be able to uncover those answers pretty quickly, because you would be in the know about that as a long-term resident.
Mm-hmm. Well, I try, and I found that asking a lot of questions really helps. How long do they expect to be here? And what else are they doing in the way of real estate? Are they interested in investing? And if they are, why? What is their long-term goal? I've actually sold people homes and found out that they had been investing in the area for some time and just buying and selling smaller properties, and weren't doing 1031 exchange. So they were taking the full impact of their taxes with every sale. And I was like, oh, no. So I found that asking a lot of questions about what else they're doing as far as real estate, what else they own, what are their long-term goals, really makes a difference.
Beth, you just mentioned the term, and I had no idea what you're talking about. What's a 1031 exchange?
Well, when you buy an investment property and then you sell it, you can do what's called a 1031 exchange, which is a process where you reinvest that money, so you don't pay capital gains on that money. You just reinvest it into another property. They were reinvesting into another property, but they were just closing, taking the money, paying the taxes, and then buying the next property with the money that was left. And they didn't realize that you could do this 1031 exchange where you sell the property and put it into another property, which is what you're going to do anyway, and avoid paying the capital gains taxes. So I was able to save them a lot of money down the road by asking a lot of questions.
Wow, I can imagine. I'm sure they're very glad that they ran into you and learned what they had not been doing. Well, we've already talked about one of the myths when it comes to luxury homes, and that is that they can be purchased in the Tampa area for much cheaper than I would have anticipated. Are there other myths out there with luxury home buyers in terms of helping them find what they need or getting the best value?
Well, the The biggest one that I found is that, and realtors participate in this somewhat, when someone considers themselves a luxury buyer, people assume that, oh, you've bought a lot of properties before, so you know the program, and they don't ask enough questions. They assume that because, they're luxury buyers, that they're financially savvy, and so they don't need as much help or assistance. But I found that there is still a lot of things that they might not be aware of that could save them money, or considerations, especially in this area. Their big concern when they buy a waterfront property is the impact of flood insurance on that property. But I found if I can just get them all the information up front to give them the facts, they feel more comfortable making that decision once they have all the facts. But it's the unknown that's very scary. And so I just try to give them as much information as possible so that they are confident when they make that decision, rather than trying to make the decision for them and point them to a house. I give them all the information that they need to make the decision, and then kind of step back and let them do their thing.
Right. Well, even though you guys, or Tampa, is located more, I guess, mid-state, even if you could have a mid-state in Florida, which is a really skinny state. Issues around hurricanes. I mean, I know that's probably the most prevalent natural disaster you might have, having gone through, what was it, Irma? We were going through Harvey, right after, before you guys went through Irma, so I wasn't paying a lot of attention to what was going on in Florida at the time.
Yeah, it's definitely scary, especially when you're talking about real estate. Then again, being aware of what to do and how to protect yourself. And I've had clients that have moved here and we had a hurricane, so they would drive to Orlando to get away from the hurricane, and then the hurricane would bend and go to Orlando. So you just gotta be like, okay, this thing could move. It hopefully will miss us, but yeah, it's one of those challenges for living in such a beautiful place. But so far we've been very fortunate.
Well, that's great to hear. When we went through our hurricane in 2008, we had evacuated to Little Rock, Arkansas, which is 6 hours north of where I am now. And, the hurricane followed us unbelievably and knocked the power out there. And it's like, you've got to be kidding me. Arkansas is a landlocked state.
Yeah.
But it went up actually through Ohio, causing damage and destruction. So you never can tell about these things.
Yeah, you can't. But like I said, I've lived here for over 20 years, and we've been very fortunate. Irma was a little bit scary, but, we did very well. So,
are there common fears that that sellers face, as they go to sell their luxury homes?
I would say the biggest ones are, they're afraid of either, most of them, they don't want to leave any money on the table, which is understandable. So they're very nervous about putting a price on it. I really just address that up front and do a solid market analysis and show them the data. The other thing that typically worries them is security, because they do have nicer homes with nicer things, and they're going to be opening those homes up to strangers. So at least when I show a property or I have someone show one of my listings, they have to have a pre-approved buyer. If the buyer can't afford to purchase the house and doesn't have mortgage in place, then they really don't have any business looking at the house. And that protects them, from people just looking to see what they can see.
Right.
Yeah, and then, the disruption of your life, because the way you sell a house is not necessarily the way you would definitely live in a house every day. So we kind of go over that, decluttering and then really ironing out the best times for showings and the process for showings, so that, they don't get surprised and they know the routine and they are confident when I call them that it's a legitimate showing. So, I just try to address all their fears up front. And a lot of that, again, is asking questions up front and finding out really what their concerns are. Everybody has something that they worry about. And sometimes getting them to articulate that to me is a challenge. But once I find out, okay, you're afraid of disrupting your children's nap time, we can totally deal with that. So, just finding out what their schedule is like and what they really want is, I'd say, 90% of the battle,
So it sounds like as a real estate agent, it pays to ask lots and lots and lots and lots of questions about a variety of things to be able to best help your client.
Right. It's not just, do you want to sell your house, sign here? If you're going to do a really good job, you got to find out really what they're wanting, what they're afraid of, what their lifestyle is like, what they're hoping to achieve down the road, what they're going to do with the money that they're getting. Where are they moving to? Because you can assist in that. And then addressing those concerns up front and working something out that everyone's comfortable with. I'd say the biggest thing is making sure that they are comfortable with me. And I found that in the beginning I felt like I was asking too many questions about too much stuff, but then I found that the more questions I asked, the better I could serve them. And by me asking about all these different aspects of their lives, they actually trusted me more because they knew that I was not just concerned about the sale, but making it a smooth process for them as well.
Well, it sounds like you get to know them really well, and you might even develop friendships with your clients because you do get to know the intimate details of their lives.
I do. It's like I tell them, we're kind of married for 6 months or so because, I'll be talking to you very frequently and asking you a lot of questions and you've got to tell me when stuff is going on so that I can, respond appropriately. And so, yeah, I kind of joke with them and say, we're married for a while here.
Right. Well, on the House Hunter kinds of shows on HGTV, they often show, the follow-up after someone's purchased a property and the real estate agent is there at the housewarming or, there at, family party kinds of things. And I thought, well, that must be, let's develop a really great friendship in the process of buying the property.
That's my goal, and I've gotten a lot of great friends that way. I feel like, if I can get to that place of trust where we both understand each other and they know that I know what they want, then we're going to be friends for a long time. And I do get a lot of repeat customers that way, and I feel like it's the greatest honor to be that realtor at their housewarming party, And I have had first-time home buyers that have bought their move-up house from me and then bought an investment property from me, and we're still friends, so that's my business plan, basically.
Oh, that's awesome. To incorporate friendship into your business plan. I love it.
Yeah.
Earlier, you had mentioned about doing a full market analysis and market research when somebody goes to sell their luxury home. Is that the process of doing what I would call finding out the comps? From my great real estate flipper flop, watching experience.
Yes. Yeah. And there's a lot of factors involved in that, but just really doing the detailed analysis of the price. Everybody thinks their house is special, and it should be, but you got to be really honest in, what sold that compares to yours and what did they get, because we have to find someone not only to buy it, but the appraiser's got to appraise it. And I have had the opportunity to go up against an appraisal and win, which is nice, but you really got to have your facts and figures documented in order to be able to do that if there is a question about appraisal.
Well, are there any perceived obstacles that you know of that might be preventing luxury home buyers or sellers from seeking the help of a realtor?
Well, you brought up one that people don't realize that they can buy a waterfront property for maybe less than what they thought. As far as buyers, there are still some great deals out there. And right now the market is just starting to pick up again. So if I tell people, if you're sitting on the fence and you want to make a move, now is the time. But in any market, there's opportunities. As far as sellers, they're always, worried that they won't get enough money. But I tell them, get an honest market analysis and see really where you are. Because there's nothing worse than having that fear in the back of your mind without the facts. It may be that they're not in a position to move, they haven't owned the house long enough, but it also could be that, they're in a hot neighborhood and they could sell their house quickly and for more than what they were thinking about.
Well, I know that, I guess I should say, I have a good friend who's managed to sell a couple of houses without the help of a real estate agent. It's just amazing that I've always been amazed at her power to be able to sell almost anything. Is that an issue with luxury home sellers that they think, I don't want to pay that, commission kind of thing, and I want to sell this by myself?
They do think that. I mean, everybody would like to save that money. And some people think that, yes, they can, but especially with the way the market is right now and, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know about, the legal disclosures. And I actually had a client that called me. I'd been talking to him for a while about selling his property, and he called me up and he said, this guy came up to his house and offered him, $500,000 for his property, and he said, is this guy joking? And I want to sign this contract. And I was like, oh my gosh, please don't. He was shocked because he didn't know what his property was worth. We ended up, I went and talked to him, showed him the comps. We ended up selling his property for $1.2 million. So, wow. He was overjoyed that someone wanted to give him $500 for it. And I was like, oh my gosh, no. So, that's an extreme case, but, it is possible to sell your own house. Absolutely. But there are a lot of people out there that look for sellers that are selling their own property because they know that typically, the seller doesn't know what he doesn't know. They so they're underbid. Yeah. Right. Yeah, they don't have the disclosures and the legal protection. They, negotiate on the price based on, you're saving on that commission money. So, I'm going to basically get that money as a buyer. So it doesn't always pay. Sometimes they can save $1, but normally in the luxury line, I found that it doesn't save them money. Plus, if you're a luxury buyer, are you going to want to go from for sale by owner to for sale by owner? Not normally. You want to hire a realtor and you want them to do the legwork and do the homework and then bring the options to you and buy a great house. You don't want to be out there, bargain basement shopping.
Right, and dealing them with the minutia of all the details day to day. You'd rather hand that off to someone else who knows what they're doing. Yeah.
And I found, too, most of the luxury buyers are professionals themselves, so they understand that. They are professional at what they do, and so they respect what we do, and it works out well.
Well, we talked about a little-known pitfall or common mistake in terms of underpricing your home. That luxury home buyers or sellers might make on the road to purchasing or selling their property. Are there other pitfalls or mistakes that you would caution people against?
Well, other than overpricing it and then wondering why it's sitting on the market, yeah. There are things like, I mentioned the disclosures. Doing
talk a little bit more about that. What do you have to disclose? What are you obligated to disclose?
anything that could materially affect the value of the property, any open permits, anything done without a permit, the fact that there's a strip mall going up down the street from you in a year, things like that could affect the value of the property. And if they don't know that, they could end up getting sued down the road. So that's why we have all the paperwork that protects them from that. Also, I found that we do a preliminary title search as soon as I get the listing, and that saved a couple of deals because they had a loan in the past that was paid off but wasn't closed out, that would have delayed closing and maybe cost them the deal. We were able to find that up front and take care of it before we got, under contract. So there's just a whole lot of stuff that goes on in the background to prepare for the sale that I would take care of or facilitate. And then hopefully the seller would never even know that it was a potential problem, because it's taken care of. So Their perception is that it was easy breezy, and as it should be, because that's my job, is to make it easy breezy as possible.
Right. And just having to deal with a real estate agent, on here's the property, and you get all the questions. They answer all the questions. You go out, do the work, find a buyer, and they show up and your seller shows up at closing and signs everything to make it easy as possible. That would be something worthy of bragging on, as you talk about how easy it was to deal with your real estate agent to your friends and family members.
Yes, and it's funny, as an agent, I've sold my house 3 times, so it's much different being an agent versus being the seller. Even when you are your own agent, I felt the stress that they go through, so I have a real appreciation from that respect, as far as showings and the stress of, even if you know what your property is worth, the stress of, is that offer going to come? So I feel like that gives me a real insight to what they're feeling as well.
I see. What inspired you to become involved in real estate and become a realtor?
A couple of things. I had been in the hotel sales business for 18 years and worked a lot of hours, 60 hours a week. Really enjoyed it. But then I was pregnant with my son, and my husband said enough of this 24/7 working. You got to do something else. Why don't you try? You're great at sales. Why don't you try, something else? So, I was doing some research, and I love decorating and designing. So I looked into real estate, and also, actually, when I was in the hotel business, my secretary at the time got her real estate license and became a full-time realtor and loved it. She was very nervous about it because she's like, I'm too old. I'm 58. I'm like, no, you're not. And she did great and was very happy and made a lot of money. And so I was like, I need to try this as well. So that was kind of my inspiration for trying it out. And then on top of that, I bought my first house when I was still in the hotel business and had a absolutely terrible experience. And I was like, oh my gosh, so much went wrong. And the realtor that I had was so bad that I saw so much opportunity. If they could make a living doing this, I knew I could, I'd be at it. That's right. I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, do you remember an early learned lesson that you got at the beginning of this real estate career that still impacts how you do your business today?
Well, a couple things. One, back to the questions, ask a lot of questions. Just keep asking questions because sometimes people don't always tell you their end goal up front. And you really have to dig for that sometimes. And the second thing I would have to say is don't impose my tastes on them. You know, if we open up the door to a house and it's like this terrible avocado color, I learned to keep my mouth shut. It might be their favorite color.
Right.
So, you know, just keep asking questions and to find out really what's going on. I've had, you know, people that were looking for a house and ultimately, you know, I noticed that they kind of differed on what they really wanted, the husband and wife. And after we had looked at houses for like a week, they finally told me that, you know, they're really going to be needing two houses because they're not going to be living together. Like,
oh my
wow,
gosh.
That was like an upfront question we should have covered.
Right.
So
it wouldn't be a normal one, I guess, you know, that you would think of necessarily.
No, but, you know, everybody's different. So I guess I've learned not to be too surprised.
Right. Well, what do you think that makes the buyer in particular reticent to share with you their long-term goals?
Well, I think you have to, you know, through asking those questions and building rapport, you really got to get their trust because they're kind of, I won't say afraid of realtors, but they're hesitant to share everything because they kind of have a fear that you're going to twist their arm into buying a house. And so it's really about building trust with them and letting them know that you're there to help them. And whether you make a sale or not, you want to be their friend and we'll give them whatever information they need. And I feel like once I've built that trust with them and they understand where I'm coming from, they're much more likely to share, you know, their information with me as far as what they really want to accomplish. Although sometimes in the beginning, they don't really know themselves what it is they want. So that's part of my job too, is kind of helping them figure out what's going to make them happy.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine that, you know, not knowing what they like, maybe in terms of kinds of house, might be helped along by the fact that, you know, you can do so much looking online via the internet, which has, I would assume, maybe have moved the whole home search process forward speed-wise, you know, because you used to not be able to do this 20 years ago or even, you know, 10 years ago maybe. It wasn't as easy to do this. You had to actually drive around and look at properties instead of being able to view just about everything you would need to see online.
Right, and you can, and a lot of times buyers come to me already having seen a bunch of houses online, but that's where I bring the other information, you know, like the specific neighborhood information and the details on, you know, what else is involved as far as the inspections and the flood insurance and things like that they maybe hadn't thought about, you know, especially in the Apollo Beach area. You can live on one street and your flood insurance is astronomical, another street in another house built a different year, and it's very reasonable. So knowing facts like that really help as well.
Oh, I can imagine. What's the most important question that luxury home buyers or sellers should ask themselves as they consider a purchase or a sale of a luxury home?
Probably, you know, once they determine their price range, what's the most important thing to them about the home that they're buying? Is it important that it be waterfront? And how much time are they going to spend, you know, on their boat or looking at the water? You know, what's really important? How many years are they going to live in the house? Because that should definitely determine which house we buy, you know, how long they're going to be there.
Right.
Or what's next? You know, do they need a house that they can live in for 2 years and make money on because they know they're going to be moving again in 2 years? You know, that's a different house than someone who wants to buy a house and live in it for 15 or 20 years maybe.
Right. Well, if those luxury home buyers or sellers in the Tampa area are considering hiring somebody as a realtor or real estate agent for them, what are the most, or if there could be more than one, what are the most things and questions that they should consider when they evaluate who they decide to work with?
Again, it comes down to trust. They have to feel comfortable with the person. They have to trust them enough to share that information with the person and feel confident that, their best interests are at heart of the realtor. If they don't know exactly what it is they're wanting, I can certainly help them with that. But they've got to feel comfortable. That's primary. Communicate. That's the most important thing, I think.
Okay.
I couldn't deal with a salesperson that I didn't feel comfortable with, even if they were the best salesperson in the world. And I feel the same way about, when you're picking a realtor, that's a big decision, and you really got to feel comfortable with your representative.
So do you offer a complimentary get-to-know-you session or a Q&A session before they sign on the dotted line to hire you as their realtor?
Yes, absolutely. I want to make sure that we're a good match. Ask them questions, have them ask me questions, find out what they really want, what their plans are, what their next step is. And normally I like to meet them, before we look at any property or make any plans, and find out those things, find out if we're a good match, and then go from there.
Okay. So that should calm people's fears that, they're not going to be strong-armed into signing with you just because they met with you. But, each party has to decide whether or not the other is a good match before moving forward.
Absolutely. And I tell them, we want to make sure we're a good match. If you feel comfortable with me, great. If not, that's okay too. We got to both feel good about it, because it's already a stressful process, whether you're buying or selling. So I really want everybody to be on the same page.
Well, Beth, it's been great catching up with you here and finding out more about what you do and how you provide services in the luxury real estate market in the Tampa Bay area. In the Tampa area, how can somebody find out more about you and RE/MAX Realty and how you can help?
They can go to my website, bethchristo.com, and that's Christo, CHRISTO.com, and contact me from there, and I would love to see if I can help them.
I want to say thanks, Beth, for being our guest today on Main Street Mavericks Radio. I appreciate all of you listening to today's episode. Take care, and we'll see you soon on our next episode of Main Street Mavericks Radio.
You've been listening to Main Street Mavericks Radio with Donna Gunter. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit mainstreetmavericks.com.